Hello, welcome to the season. Today, the TARDIS touches down in North London. The season in question is 1990-91. The team is Arsenal, and with us is their top goalscorer that year, Alan Smith, or to give him his full formal North Bank title, Smudger. Alan, nice to have you here. Let's go back first and provide a bit of context, because a couple of seasons before the one we're talking about, you had beaten Liverpool to the title in the most dramatic fashion possible, in injury time up at Anfield. Then the following year, they'd reasserted their dominance and you'd finished fourth. So I suppose coming into this season, it was up to you to prove that you weren't just a blip in that era of Liverpool dominance. Is that fair?
Yeah, I think so. You know, I mean, that was an incredible season, 88, 89, and the following one, it was all went a bit flat. I think it was after the Lord Mayor's show type of thing. But we went again, 1991. George Graham brought a few new lads in, which I think we needed, because after you win the league, nobody new came after that 89 season. Same old faces, but then we got in Anders Limpar, David Seaman, of course, Andy Linnigan as well. So it just freshened things up a bit ahead of that season.
All right, so a slightly freshened lineup and a good start to the season by Arsenal. Let's see them in action from pretty early in the campaign. September the 15th at home at Highbury against Chelsea.
Here's Dixon. Now Davis, looking for Groves. Limpar almost on the penalty spot here. In by Dixon, on by Merson, Limpar! It's the Swedish international's first goal for Arsenal. Merson. Now Limpar. Oh, it's a penalty. Dixon against Besant. Terrific penalty from Lee Dixon. Easily claimed by Seaman. And that is a fantastic throw out by the Arsenal goalkeeper. Chelsea really stretched. It's Thomas. Good save by Besant. Limpar now. And bundled over the line by Paul Merson. Adams. Turned on by Davis. Here's Limpar. Merson just ahead of him, as is Groves. Now Rocastle. What a splendid finish by Rocastle.
And David Seaman, he arrived from QPR and let in just 18.
He did. And the pressure was on David, because we'd won the league with Lukey, John Lukic. The crowd loved him and we loved him. I mean, I remember the season before, last day of the season at Norwich, and the crowd were outside the dressing room, right outside, the window was open, singing Lukey's name, and we were all joking with him, saying, well, you know, what's going to happen? Because David Seaman had been linked with a move, and it was more or less confirmed by that stage. But he came in, and you could just see he was an extra level, David. He was superb, he had that presence about him, and from the first game of the season, he responded, he was superb.
So, I mean, he didn't have to prove himself to the players then, replacing somebody popular like Lukic?
Well, you do, but he soon did that. He soon did that with his performances. He's such a confident lad and such a placid lad in many ways, and he had this confidence in his ability, that big laughy grin, the big Yorkshireman, big, deep, booming voice. And he was popular in the dressing room, and even more popular when we saw what a great keeper he was.
The 1991 season was the first time that Dave Seaman was between the sticks for us, and you know, obviously, record now says that he was incredibly important for that team, and you know, he played for a long time. I think George Graham had been tracking him for a while. He was at QPR previously, and I think, as far as I can remember, I think George had tried to buy him the season previously. But we all kind of thought that John Lukic was the bee's knees and didn't really quite understand what George's thinking behind it was. But you know, Seaman came along and almost broke Ray Clemence's record of, you know, the least goals let in the season in his first season. So it was obvious that he was a huge force to be reckoned with. And I think at that point he was already knocking on the England #1 door. So, you know, he's a great player to have signed, and great foresight by Mr. Graham.
A good move for Arsenal, good move for David Seaman too, because, you know, he was a lot higher profile, much better for his international career.
Yeah, he was perfect. And as you say, coming in and working behind that back four, he built up an understanding with Stevie Bold and Tony Adams in particular, and the two full-backs, and it just clicked. Yeah,
talk about that defensive unit. I mean, as a four, perhaps one of the most celebrated in recent history.
Well, I think you'll struggle to match it in terms of their longevity and you know, their record in terms of conceding goals. I was there, I saw them all coming in. Nigel Winterburn came first, just a few months after me. Then Lee Dixon, then Stevie Bold to join Tony. And I was working with George Graham and a few of the forward lads, training day in, day out, attack against defence, drilling that back four. George was incessant, and the lads would come in and say, "Oh, wonder what we're doing today, working on the back four." What a surprise.
Because that was really George Graham's philosophy, to build from the back, solid at the back, and then everything else is a bonus.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Fabio Capello, like you could argue. And he did that, and he earmarked the right players in the right positions, and he worked tirelessly on it. And it was a pain in the backside for the boys and for us who were working in those sessions. But once they saw the fruits of the labour, they loved it.
And you talked about off-season signings. Another big one was Andy Linnigan, but that back four was working so well he couldn't get a look in.
Yeah, he came for big money and a big reputation. And I think at the time, George Graham may have thought about bringing in Andy to replace Steve Bold, but Boldy's performances didn't allow that, and Andy had to be patient until later on in the year.
So Arsenal's back four have always been legendary, but that season, I think you could possibly say it was a back five, because Dave Seaman was brought in that season to shore up the goal. I mean, they went the whole season only conceding 18 goals, which was very close to the record that had been set originally by Ray Clements. But the back four, you know, it's always talked about reverentially, almost. I think the fact that Tony Adams went for 3 months possibly would have caused problems, but Steve Bold and Lee Dixon and Nigel Winterburn just knew what they were, always knew where they were and what they were doing, and you know, the addition of maybe Andy Linnigan and David O'Leary to work alongside Boldy was, you know, it didn't make that much difference. It was always George Graham's, you know, thought that if you kept the defence tight, then the rest of the team just did what they had to do and try and score the goals. So that made that season, I think.
All right, we'll take a quick break there because we've got plenty to pack in, including the most controversial game of that season, Arsenal against Manchester United. Now, there's a surprise.
Proudly sponsored by C&A Building Plastics.
And still stand Collymore! And it comes for Cantona! What a chance here for Keane! He's taken it!
Great footballers are not like ordinary people. They are heroes.
Tomorrow at 7:15 on ESPN Classic.
Whatever you need from your hotel, find it at Hotels.com. Wake up happy.
Ever thought you should be saving for a rainy day? Money doesn't grow on trees, so put some pounds away. Here's our tax-free savings rate. It's such a massive size, these others simply can't compete. That's not a huge surprise. We're talking easy access and a high rate free of tax. No one helps more people grow their savings than Halifax.
Get a massive tax-free 5.25% AER with a Halifax ISA Saver Direct.
I always think to myself, if our love was so beautiful. Please remember all those.
every part works beautifully. 5-year unlimited miles warranty. Bravo from 10,995, 0% interest, no deposit.
Whole grain just got exciting. New Sunbites from Walker's. The tasty snack with a third of your daily whole grain.
New KFC Flavour Station. Boneless bites dipped in smoky barbecue, fiery pepper or sweet chilli sauce. Whatever your mood, we've got the flavour. 5 bites, only $2.69.
Catch a falling star and put it in your pocket. Never let it fade away. Catch a falling star and put it in
A spectacular blend of the finest fruit. New Tropicana smoothies.
Oceans couldn't stop him. A wild land couldn't stop him. Years of toil couldn't stop him. The doubters couldn't stop him. When Thomas Hardy left England to help pioneer the wines of the New World, he proved something. Following your heart can lead to wonderful things. Hardy's, one love since 1853.
Who can give you great deals on car insurance? Norwich Union Direct can, with up to £75 cash back if you have 3 or more years no claims, and with up to 10% off when you buy online. Norwich Union Direct. Call us now on 0800 888 777.
The greatest players in Europe. And all their mates. In one of football's finest arenas. Available soon only on ESPN Classic.
Proudly sponsored by C&A Building Plastics.
Welcome back. The season is 1990-91. Our guest is Arsenal's Alan Smith. Now, Alan, 8 games into the season, Liverpool are top, you're second, Manchester United are 6th. And just for those whose memory for grudges doesn't go back any further than the Sky Sports era, was there something particular between you and United that season, or was it just every season?
Well, yeah, there was a bit of aggro. I mean, it dated back, I think, to 1988 when we played United in the FA Cup at Highbury, full house. We beat them in the end. But Brian McClair missed a penalty late on, and him and Nigel Winterburn had been having a bit of a running feud, and Nigel went up to him and said a few words in his ear when he was down on the floor, distraught. And from that moment on, I think there was that little edge between the two sides.
All right, so a bit of previous, and here, as they say, is what happened next.
And Limpar made a long run to get himself involved, and Keith Hackett has given the goal. Arsenal have taken the lead. Anders Limpar whipped it in, and Keith Hackett said it was over the line. But you can't argue with the referee's right in that position to make the award. Well, matches between Arsenal and Manchester United are rarely occasions for the purist. Phelan on, oh, it was Irwin, wasn't it, who was lucky. That was totally unnecessary. Well, maybe that's carrying sympathy too far from the referee. And look what's happened as a result of it. Look at this. This is disgraceful. It's a free-for-all. And how will the referee be able to sort it all out? That high tangle with Irwin. Remember what had happened before. McClair was lashing out, and the ball was the last thing on his mind. And Nigel Winterburn did well to get up from that.
All right, Alan, let's analyse that Anders Limpar goal. No, obviously the big talking point was the brawl. I didn't see you, but I presume you were in there somewhere. What do you remember of it?
Yeah, my fault. The ball was played up in the air and Gavin Pallister came over the top and headed it down, so if I'd have won the header it might have been different, but Nigel Winterburn steamed in on Brian McLeod, I think, and it all went off after that, and yeah, they do describe it as a 20-man brawl or whatever, and I think it was me and David Seaman just at the side watching on. But there were some good punches thrown that day, I can tell you. I mean, if it had happened now, there'd be an almighty inquest. But I remember Anders Limpar and Mickey Thomas coming off afterwards saying, yeah, I caught him behind the ear, I drew blood. different era.
And, I mean, several players fined, George Graham fined, but worse for you, for your title hopes, both you and Manchester United docked 2 points.
Yeah, big news at the time. You know, it hadn't happened, I don't think, for a long while, and we had a big crisis meeting with the gaffer, and the chairman came down into the dressing room, which you know something is extraordinary afoot when the chairman appears. He just made us aware of our conduct, I think, reminded us who we were playing for. But yeah, George used it to our advantage, the old siege mentality, backs against the wall, us against the world and all that. I remember having a meeting outside on the training ground, and he was going through that and reminding us of what we've got to do in the future.
Because, I mean, that's useful for any club, isn't it? Any good team to have that cohesion has got to develop that sort of us against the world mentality a little bit.
Yeah, I think so. You know, Sir Alex Ferguson's done it for a long time, maybe Jose Mourinho with Chelsea, you could argue. And the fans got behind it as well, the old chant, you can stick the 2 points up your you-know-what. And they came out with that every week when we were winning. So it was something for us to get hold of and really use it to our advantage.
All right, well, anyway, good news for Liverpool, who suddenly had a bit more breathing room at the top of the table. And with both them and Arsenal unbeaten, something had to give in the first week of December when Liverpool travelled to Highbury. They were in first place, the Gunners were second, 6 points behind.
Well, here's Thomas in the 6-yard area there, just outside it, as Davis now takes the corner. Thomas again. And Grobbelaar saves! Merson can't get there! Did he go across the line? Yes! Arsenal have scored! Merson got that final touch. And that will change the whole game now. Bobbing about there, and Grobbelaar had made one good save.
The value of getting a good corner over Brian instead of messing about. Good volley, that. Great save by Bruce. And Merson just getting in over the line, yeah.
Liverpool get possession, but then lose it to Michael Thomas. Into Smith. That might fall for Merson. It might fall for Limpar. Down he goes. That's a penalty.
It was a good ball played through. Everybody's running for it. Merson and Limpar gets onto it. No, I don't think you can argue.
Just clipped him. Dixon scored twice from the spot. But this is a real big one now. A 2-0 lead would be so vital for Arsenal. Lee Dixon. It's 2-0. Merson, oh, what a lovely back heel. Smith with a shot, a fantastic goal. 3-0. What a back heel it was, though. And what a finishing strike by Alan Smith.
That really was a magnificent piece of soccer. What a marvellous back heel that was by Paul Merson. And a great strike. Oh, what a super goal.
His 6th goal in 4 games, and Arsenal have put to rest all the nightmares of Wednesday night now.
Alan, cracking goal to finish it off there. A 6-pointer, as they say, so massive from that point of view, but a big game psychologically too, I imagine.
It was. To play Liverpool, still the masters, the team to beat. I just remember there was a fantastic atmosphere at Highbury that day, full house, Winter's Day. And we played well. We got a little lucky break with the first goal, I think, was it, or wasn't it over the line, which I think it was. But from then on, played really well. And yeah, linking up with Merce, what a lovely player to play with. He always spotted those runs, and that little back heel into my path, it was so typical of him.
Yeah, his quickness of thought, is that something you needed to anticipate him, presumably?
Yeah, I mean, you know, we knew each other well, training together every day, and you always knew that Merce would spot you wherever you were, so from that point of view, he was one of my most enjoyable partners. And I always regretted when George moved him out to the left-hand side, out to the wing, because I loved playing with him through the middle.
So, I mean, you had an established partnership with him. You mentioned right at the top of the show, Anders Limpar as one of the big off-season signings, and he had a big impact.
Oh, I remember when Anders first came, he had these little quick feet. He only had about size 5 boots, tiny things, but his feet went in a blur. You'd never seen anything like it. What skill. And we were taken aback straight away because not many of us had heard of him coming from Cremonese in Italy. But he was my roommate, and we got on well, me and Anders. And he was a real big influence that season because in our 88-89 season, we had Brian Marwood delivering crosses. Well, Anders was totally different. He played on that left-hand side, but he came in, little dinky balls through the middle. Such a clever, quick-thinking player, and he scored a lot of goals himself.
And what always amuses me, it seemed like he couldn't stop selling dummies even after he'd scored the goal. A teammate would come up to congratulate him.
Yeah, he'd go, yeah, he'd swerve you. Yeah, he was like that. He's a funny lad, Swedish boy, and he had his little foibles and whatever. He's just really popular boy, and he had that fantastic season. And after that, unfortunately, he couldn't quite replicate it, and the gaffer got on his back a little bit, and his confidence went down. But for those 12 months, he was just electric.
All right, so he's slotted in well, you're playing well, you've clawed back some of the ground on Liverpool, so everything's looking good in the season, and then in the run-up to Christmas, suddenly you lose your captain, which can happen to injury, but this was a drink driving charge, and Tony Adams is off into jail for 4 months.
Yeah, huge shock for us and perhaps the country. I don't think anybody was expecting him to get the time that he did. I always remember the day that he was sentenced. It was our Christmas party, and we gathered at Steve Bowles' house, and we thought, well, shall we go out? I mean, Tony's just been sent down. What do you think, lads? And we thought, wow, I think Tone would have wanted it. So we went out.
You had a memorial drink.
Yeah, here's to Tone, which probably, yeah. But it was a huge shock, and at the time, that's our captain and one of our major players gone, and you're thinking, you know, is this going to affect us in a bad way and knock us off course for the title? But thankfully we hung in there.
And was it more grist for George Graham's team motivational, Mill?
Yeah, I think it was. It was one of those let's do it for Tony jobs, and we did feel that. At the same time, you've got that fantastic back four, obviously minus one key part, and David Seaman, but so effective and efficient was it that, you know, you could lose one part and bring in another, and you didn't notice too much of a difference. So Andy Linningham come in, did a great job for those matches that Tony was away, and we, you know, as I say, we did manage to keep things going.
Yep, Tony Adams catching the highlights if he's lucky. But the third week of January did see Arsenal finally hit the top of the league thanks to a Paul Merson goal against Everton.
Paul Merson is the obvious target here for David Seaman. And the ball has come through to Groves. Smith making his move into the middle, joined now by Merson. It's Merson! Arsenal have taken the lead. Groves with the acceleration to get clear, and once he did get clear, two options for him inside the penalty area. One was Smith, and the other one was Merson. Easy finish in the end for Merson.
So, Alan, you're top, but only by a point, and Liverpool have a game in hand, so there's nothing in it. Looks like it's going to be another heart-attack finish to the season like it was in 88-89. Then suddenly, on February the 22nd, comes the news that Dalglish has resigned.
That was just a bolt from the blue for us, and I think it was for the Liverpool lads. So you're just wondering how that's going to affect them, and is it going to do us a favour? Yeah, it was amazing day that. Word came through, and I think we were training at Highbury, and none of us could believe it.
I mean, were you just shocked, or was it a round of applause, cheer went up, or...?
No, I think shocked really, that Kenny, you know, King Kenny would walk away from that. We obviously didn't know the situation, the circumstances, but he was obviously a god, an icon up there, so you suspected that it might have a negative effect on them.
Now, while you're battling for the league title with Liverpool, in the middle of all that, in early '91, you had a fourth-round FA Cup tie with Leeds that looked like it might take over the whole season.
Yeah, just what you want when you're in the middle of a title challenge, yeah.
All 4 games.
Couldn't shake them off, yeah. And both sets of players just sick of the sight of each other, and you just want it to end either way. And I think they changed the rules after that, didn't they, in terms of replays? But yeah, we eventually got through, which was the main thing.
Probably one of my most memorable things about the season is not about the football. It was about the replays against Leeds in the FA Cup. I think we played them 4 or 5 times. I think there was even a league game in there as well at one point. I mean, we were sick to death of them. I mean, it was just really was doing our head in. But there was one replay we played, and it had snowed the day before. And I remember, I think it was either on the radio or on the television, they were calling for fans to go down and clear away the snow from the terrace. I didn't bother doing that, but I did turn up, and it's the coldest I've ever been at a football match. It was absolutely freezing, and it got to the point where I just thought, I don't care who scores, just one of you scores, so this torture ends. I mean, eventually, obviously, we beat them, but it really was hard work. And I think that was the last time that they went to so many replays in the FA Cup. I think they took it to penalties after the first replay after that.
And in the middle of that run of 4 games, one league game which turned out to be your only defeat of the season against Chelsea. I mean, were you just exhausted by that point?
A combination of things. Steve Bold got injured, I remember, and came off, and so we were a little bit short at the back. Just one of those days. It was a shame. We went 2-0 down, and I remember I got our consolation goal late on, but wasn't quite enough. And in the dressing room afterwards, I think George Graham said, well, fantastic run we've been on, lads, let's go on another one now until the end of the season. And that's what we did.
Yeah, the title challenge still very much on despite that blip against Chelsea. Into the first week of April now, let's see Arsenal at home against Aston Villa.
Brawl will get there before Campbell returns it back straight into the path of Anders Limpar. Oh, it's a good ball there. Not given offside. A goal is given. Kevin Campbell playing the ball there into the path of Kevin Campbell. Villa stopped for a moment thinking there was an offside, but a clinical piece of finishing by Campbell. Penrice looked as though he was getting into trouble there, and Mountfield's ball never looked like reaching Price. Davis! It's a goal! And Arsenal have some breathing space on which to build now. Some good work here by Winterburn. Davis on the turn, against the post and just over the line. Hillier with a space for him. To Merson on the far side. Arsenal playing with flowing confidence at the moment. Merson's cross. A deep one towards Alan Smith, nodded down by him! Knocked off the line by McGrath. The linesman's given it. That'll be 3-0. Here's Smith's header. Over Nigel Spink. It's a short one. Davis finding Merson, flick with the outside of the boot there towards Anders Limpar. It's another one for Smith. It's 4-0. Well, it's developing into a rout now with these 3 goals in the second half. Limpar driving this across the 6-yard area. Adams and then Bold. The back heel for Merson. Campbell's through the middle. Campbell now. A chance for goal number 5. Kevin Campbell. The long ball through, releasing the pace of Kevin Campbell. He cut inside Derek Mountfield and then provided a shot that David Platt couldn't reach. 5-0.
Yeah, Villa without their regular keeper for the 5th, but I'm not sure Nigel Spink could have done any better than David Platt. And we should give a quick mention to Kevin Campbell. Not a massive number of games that season, but did well when he came in.
He did, young Kev, yeah. Bundle of muscle, so strong, and our defenders knew about that from the training sessions we'd had against the reserves. And when he did come in, he was just full of enthusiasm and running, quick lad, and he did well for us.
Now, Tony Adams is back in the side by this point. You're going well in the Cup as well as the League, and inevitably there's talk of doing the double.
Yeah, I mean, you get to that point in the season, turn of the year, and you're playing well, not conceding, you're scoring goals, and you're thinking, wow, this could be the first double by an Arsenal side since the 70-71 team. So, yeah, we're all really hopeful.
Now, the semi-final was a huge match, not least because for the first time ever, Wembley had been nominated as the neutral venue to accommodate the two sets of fans from North London, because it was the big North London derby, you and Spurs.
Yeah, I don't think anybody was that keen about it happening at Wembley. We thought it took the gloss off the final itself. But having said that, it made for a huge occasion. What a build-up there was before that. And
you were favourites, but it didn't really work out.
We were favourites, given, you know, how well we were playing in the league. But when you're playing your local rivals, you know, anything can happen, and it did.
Good morning. It's football's longest day, the first ever FA Cup semi-final to be played here at Wembley, Arsenal against Spurs. Of course, Arsenal hot favourites, but semi-finals don't work out like that.
George has picked a very attacking side, but I'm just worried that Arsenal may play a little bit of the offside, and Lineker's pace and Gascoigne's inventiveness and Samway's as well, they might give Arsenal problems.
OK, here they come the teams. Just before we head out over to our commentary team, just what do you think, Glenn? What do you think will happen in this?
Well, obviously, I'm hoping for a Spurs win, being a Spurs man, but Arsenal are so organised. I've got a feeling it's going to go to a replay. I really do, but I agree with Liam. I think we can see some goals.
We ought to remind our viewers that there will be extra time if it's level at full time here today. So you think a replay, and what do you think, Liam?
Well, I think Arsenal, but I fear Tottenham might get a goal. But I hope Arsenal get two.
Tremendous reception for the two teams. A private argument of North London, with overtones of doubles and finance to be played out before a world audience. The match is being watched on television in over 30 countries. Mabbutt has gone forward with Stewart to the right, Lineker and Howes to the left. Is Gascoigne going to have a crack? He is, you know. Oh, I say! Nice little touch from Gascoigne. Allen was onside, plenty forward. Mabbutt trying to get there. Smith, it's gone in. Smith wins in the air. Campbell, it's the first time that combination has worked. Limpar. And he got in a clean shot. It's curled. Smith! He scored! Dixon's cross. Smith's head was a good cross. Wind, I suspect, held it up a little bit. Smith rose the highest, and Torsved, who was quite close to his line, found it beating him on his left side. Fine ball by Merson to Winterburn. And difficult, Campbell, and Thomas was nearest in the end. Coming down to Winterburn, still Winterburn, it's over the top. A little bit bunched for Arsenal. I could spread it out now though. Merson took a good position. Smith shots. Torsved was well aware it was going wide. Mabbutt fed it well. Naeem to the left. Samway's ahead, and Lineker uses him by not using him. Good try, score! Merson. Here's a chance, Smith! Blocked by Torsved's feet. Winterburn, free kick. Davis. They've got a man up at the back. Smith! Good save! Good bounce again. Won by Thomas.
Bold, Campbell, still Campbell. Oh, and he hit the woodwork! Merson, and it's just a whisker away. Out by Mabbott. Allen was caught. Campbell, good save.
I remember George Graham having a team meeting beforehand, deciding, well, what should we do with Paul Gascoigne, because he was their talisman. How should we handle him? And we decided to man-mark him in the end, which was most unlike us, really, and Michael Thomas was assigned the job. But Gazza went all over the pitch. He was down by the corner flag, and Mickey was following him, and it just spoilt our shape and flow. And we never got going, and Gazza got that free kick. I was stood in the wall, and it whistled past my ear. Looked round, top corner. Dave Seaman said he stood, got caught in the turf, and we could never quite pick it up. I scored just before half-time, but we could never quite pick it up again.
All right, so the FA Cup run is over. Arsenal free to concentrate on the league, in the time-honoured phrase. We'll take our final break there, and when we come back, we'll have the run-in to the 1991 season.
Proudly sponsored by C&A Building Plastics.
Super babes and souped-up motors. What else do you really need? Don't be a good boy. Be super bad and watch Superbike World Championships. Oh, exclusively not live. You know you want to.
Every night this week at 9:30 on ESPN Classic.
We made the world's first coupe cabriolet in 1934. It's changed a bit since then. Test drive the Peugeot 207cc or any new Peugeot between the 10th and 20th of April, and you could be driving away a great deal. Peugeot, the drive of your life.
Love Cyprus, the year-round island.
Catch a falling star and put it in your pocket. Never let it fade away. Catch a falling star and put it in
A spectacular blend of the finest fruit. New Tropicana smoothies.
Don't get left behind. Speed around cyberspace with fast and reliable mobile broadband from Vodafone. Go on, make the most of now.
If you're looking for a really great car insurance quote, here's one from independent financial research company De Facto. See? I told you it was good. TescoCompare.com, the car insurance comparison site. Every little helps.
87% of Fair and Square customers cut their monthly repayments on their different borrowings by up to 50% by escaping to one low-rate homeowner loan. And with a straightforward arrangement fee, there are no hidden costs, so everything's fair and square.
From Academy Award-winning director Martin McDonagh comes a deliciously wicked comedy.
She ain't my girlfriend. She's a prostitute.
I'm not aware of any prostitutes in Bruges.
Just have to look in the right places. Brothels are good.
Back off, short.
You don't know karate. Ah!
In Bruges.
Up the hill. How's that look? Oh! There's your champion.
Maybe. Yes, sir!
There it is!
The Masters Movies.
Tuesday to Thursday at 6:10 on ESPN Classic.
Proudly sponsored by C&A Building Plastics.
Welcome back to the season. It's late April 1991 and we've reached the business end of the title race. Let's take a look at the table. Three games left to play, 3 points ahead of Liverpool, and the knowledge, presumably, that you've won an even tighter race than this against them before. So some confidence.
Yeah, I mean, we were that little bit more experienced as well, as opposed to 88, 89, when, you know, the wheels fell off towards the end. We nearly messed it up. But I think this time we were pretty confident we'd be able to see it through.
Now, you dropped 2 points in your next game away at Sunderland, but Liverpool lost all 3 to Chelsea. The next game was 2 days later on the bank holiday Monday, and you had United home at Highbury, but Liverpool kicked off earlier than you,
Yes.
and you knew they neaded to win against Nottingham Forest.
Yeah, we always used to have our pre-match meal at South Hearts Golf Club in North London, so we'd meet there, have our meal, we watched a bit of the telly, watched a bit of the match, and then we all got in our cars to go down to Highbury, so we're listening to it on the radio. So we found out, I think, just pulling into Highbury, that we'd actually won the league, so all the fans were outside and congratulating you, and it really did take the pressure off that match. And you could say it's a bit of an anticlimax, but we didn't care. We'd won the league in much more relaxed fashion than we had a couple of years back.
The thing I remember about the day we won the league was Liverpool were playing earlier and they had to win to keep their challenge going. I remember I lived in Crouch End, which is not far away from Highbury, and I was on the bus on the way to the game listening to the first half on my transistor radio, and then I'd arranged to meet my friends in the Gunners pub, which is just down the road from the ground, and I got there and my friends were stood outside because it was absolutely rammed in the pub with people watching it on the TV. So I found out we won the league by hearing everyone cheer inside the pub, and literally, you know, the champagne came out all over the streets of Highbury, and you know, we kind of walked down to the game against Man United with a certain spring in our step, safe in the knowledge that it was ours. But it was a really good day, and I seem to remember that it was sunny as well, so it was a nice day to win it.
What was that like? You're all keyed up, you're all psyched up to take on United at Highbury, and then suddenly you're champions.
You've won it, yeah. All the banners were rolled out, all the fans had obviously got them ready in anticipation, and it was a party atmosphere. Some of the boys went out for warm-up in wigs, and funny when he gets up with George Graham, even then, wasn't too keen on. He wanted us to concentrate on that match and do a good professional job, and thankfully we did.
Oh, you certainly did. Let's take a look at the game. May the 6th, Arsenal against United at Highbury, taking the field as champions and playing like it.
Good quick throw there. Dixon. It's in by Alan Smith. Well, quick wits beating Manchester United there. Robbins. Here's Campbell. Smith up ahead of him. Ferguson's after him, and he might find it hard to get rid of Campbell. Is Smith. It's another one for Alan Smith. Alan Smith brings his total to 25.
And I think that brings his total about 20 league goals, which just about puts him in the lead for the top goal scorers award this year. So he'll be pleased.
Comes for Adams. Hit that with some power. And whether he's given a penalty inside the box, there he has. Alan Smith on a hat-trick on this night of celebration for Arsenal. big striker whose goals have been so valuable over the last 3 or 4 seasons for Arsenal.
And he's looking for the golden boot for the top scorer, so desperately wants to score.
A hat-trick for Alan Smith. 3-0 for Arsenal. Now, will Robbins get on the end of this one? He's going to give a penalty. The foul by Seaman on Robbins. And United have the possibility of a late consolation. You don't save those. And Manchester United pull one back, 3-1. Well, the celebrations really had begun from the moment Nottingham Forest had put paid to Liverpool's challenge before this game even started. And now they can be heard in full voice as Arsenal truly celebrates a championship and a victory tonight by 3-1 against Manchester United.
Alan, not a bad way to underline the league title win with a hat-trick.
No, quite. And a penalty as well, which I never used to take pens, hated them. And George Graham always used to go on at me, Alan, why don't you take them? It'll help you become top goal scorer, win the Golden Boot and all that. And I always shied away from it. Kenny Dalglish, I remember, never used to take them. He hated them, and I just thought, well, if it's good enough for him, it'll do for me. But that night, Lee Dixon was good enough to give me the ball. He was a regular penalty taker, and I was after my hat-trick. I was chasing the Golden Boot. I think people like Gary Lineker were vying for it that year. And so I wasn't going to turn down the chance to get a hat-trick that night.
Did you ever practice pens?
In training, never missed, you know. Amazing that, isn't it? But it's just totally different to a match situation. But of course the pressure was off and I didn't feel any, nerves at all that night.
And as you say, nice to be able to go in and face the old enemy United and just relax and turn on the style in front of the North Bank.
Yeah, I mean, they had an agenda of their own. They were in the European Cup Winners' Cup a few days later. I remember they formed a guard of honour and clapped us out. And that must have stuck in their craws a little bit. Yeah, well, I mean, that was during the times when they actually weren't championship contenders. It just shows how times changed in the few years after that. But yeah, I mean, we played well. We played relaxed there, and there was that party atmosphere. We got the early goal and went on from then.
And David Seaman just missing out on the record. Liverpool had only let in 16 goals under Ray Clemence, and you were 16 going into that game.
Yeah, he was upset about that, and as I think the defenders were, because that would have been a great badge of honour and a tribute to that back four and David. But couldn't be helped. We had the championship as a consolation.
Had the championship, and of course David Seaman did let in one more goal in the final game against Coventry. Not that it mattered, because Arsenal actually ran up their biggest score of the season.
Here's Merson. Peak with interception. And Trevor Peak has now given the ball away. Here's Dixon. On again towards Merson. Coventry really stretched now. Oh, it's an own goal. An own goal by Trevor Peak, who gave the ball away initially, and Coventry have been punished here. Here's Campbell. It's come through to Limpar. Brilliantly taken by Anders Limpar. What a season he has had for Arsenal. Well, Seaman hasn't been able to claim. Coventry struggling to force the ball home, but they have done eventually. It's Kevin Gallagher who's got the goal here. Here's Smith. Flaggers stay down. Alan Smith is onside. And that is a beautiful finish. Arsenal's top scorer has got another one. Really positive header that by Adams. Here's Campbell. Fantastic acceleration by Campbell. Round to Grizovic. Limpar's arriving quickly. And here is Anders Limpar. Breathtaking goal again from Arsenal. Dixon. Looking for Limpar. Confronted now by Grizovic. It's a walkover this for Arsenal, and it is another for Anders Limpar. That completes the hat-trick. Terrific run this by Winterburn. Great anticipation as well. Groves in the middle. 6-1 now, Arsenal.
Alan, a great exclamation point, racking up your biggest score of the season in the final game, and a season of great personal satisfaction for you too, with your 28 goals.
Well, it was, funnily enough, I don't think I scored for the first 9 or 10 games, and my confidence was on the floor. I remember going to see George Graham at the start saying, you know, what can I do to get out of this? And he said, as long as we're winning, Alan, don't worry, the goals will come. And I remember I got a couple against Southampton in September or something, and I didn't stop from there. So it was, personally, great satisfaction. England honours had come along the way as well, so it was wonderful. And also, you know, as we said at the start, Gary, you know, we'd won the Championship 2 years before. To do it again, and with such consistency, showed that it wasn't a flash in the pan. I always remember the papers, though, in the days following that saying, you know, Arsenal to dominate for 10 years from here on in. You know, they felt that we were going to create a dynasty, and that was the big disappointment, that never actually happened.
And why not?
We didn't take it on from there. I don't think we bought the right players for whatever reason. It fizzled out. We became a cup team. We won the FA Cup and League Cup in '93, the first team to ever do so. Won the Cup Winners' Cup '94. It was only when Arsene Wenger came that we turned back into a league-chasing side. But that little 3-year window, I mean, it was obviously the best in my career. Fantastic times, and to have those trophies at the end of it, unforgettable stuff.
And just to ask the impossible question right at the end, which gives you more satisfaction looking back, the one that showed you could do it the first time, or the one that proved you could repeat?
Yeah, there's a balance, really. I mean, the drama of the 88-89 is unsurpassable. But to only lose one game, for which I don't think we probably got the credit we deserve, George Graham always says that, hadn't been done since Preston in the 1800s. So that was tremendous achievement. We showed that we were really top-notch blue-chip competitors that season. So it is a toss-up. Two different teams as well, but just wonderful to pick up that championship medal at the end of it.
All right, Alan, thanks very much for your time and for talking us through an eventful season for Arsenal on and off the field, I think it's fair to say. And that's it for this edition. We'll be back next time with another momentous season and another great player to talk us through it. See you then.